Hey folks, welcome to my Serverless Practitioner Summit talk on three-factor app, an accessible design pattern for serverless. And I'll just share my screen so we get started with the slides. So, hi, my name is Thiru. I'm a product manager at Hasura, and Hasura is an instant GraphQL API tool on databases. And it also provides event-driven mechanisms so that you can invoke business logic and build complex applications. And in short, it's like a modern API layer uses GraphQL and eventing to kind of redesign your API architecture so that it enables all modern patterns, uh, which in turn enables things like scalability, performance, resiliency, and so on, all of which we'll kind of see in today's talk. So let's first talk about what is a traditional architecture, right? That we see in the wild today. So a traditional architecture looks something like this, where you have your app and it kind of talks to something like Rails or an MVC pattern like Spring Boot and so on. So it's like a heavy backend layer, which in turn talks to the database where all the state is stored, and it may also talk to other microservices which you may be using or other teams might be deploying for you. So all of these things come together at the API layer, and then the app is served entirely through this API layer, right? So this is a traditional architecture. In this architecture, you can ask the question, how should I serverless? I'm very seduced by this new thing which promises so many things, but how do I get started? And what does it offer? Uh, so the first thing that you can think of doing is basically host your entire application on Lambda, right? If you think of serverless as just as a managed runtime, why not just put all your APIs together in one big Lambda and just use that? All your API endpoints can go to that one function in Lambda, and you can perform your business logic as it is. What's the problem? So that guy was actually me, and I tweeted about this as to why can't we have monolithic lambdas? Like, is serverless all about lambdas? It doesn't say anything else. So I'll just take all my existing code and put it in lambdas, and that kind of seems like a good, naive way of a common perspective that people may have if they just look at serverless as managed compute. But the real problem is that this doesn't really work, and that's because traditional architectures have problems, and if you port something with such problems to serverless, it's not going to work. It's going to be much worse. So what are the problems, right? So the first problem is that the in the previous example, if we had ported an entire application like a Rails application on Lambda, imagine the boot time it would take for you to service a request, and imagine having that bloated uh, runtime or so many resources trying to initialize and also serve one request. So it's not going to scale, right? And it was not going to scale even if it was not on Lambda. Like monolithic applications which are hosted on in VMs and so on, they have this problem of scalability because they consume a lot of resources, and to scale them out, you need to have a very efficient auto scalable architecture and so on, which is very hard to get. The second problem is, are they resilient? Like, are monolithic applications like the one that we saw in the previous architecture, are they resilient? What happens if there is an error? Or what happens if uh, a VM crashes in the middle of executing some transaction? How do you deal with those things? So there is going to be a lot of error handling and recovery logic that has to be embedded in your backend code to account for these problems. And these problems do occur, especially if you have a lot of users and if you get a significant amount of traffic and so on. And finally, what do you think about the development velocity with the previous architecture? I think it's easy to prototype, and that's because all the tooling and all resources and everything is available today. If you have to build a Rails app, it's not very difficult to build a simple Rails app because it's just easy. And but if you have to iterate over it, and if you have to scale it, and if you manage it, it becomes harder and harder, right? So that's the third problem. So at a broad level, you can see the problems are scalability, resilience, and development velocity with traditional architectures. And it just doesn't, you can't just lift and shift that into, say, Lambdas or Google Cloud Functions or any serverless compute environment. So what is the solution here? If this doesn't work, what does, right? So the main essence of moving towards serverless is that you're moving towards async, right? Uh, you want scale, you want resiliency, make things asynchronous, make them execute through event queues and so on. Don't make basically synchronous means that you need resources at that time. You need those many resources, even if one of the resources is busy or not available. That's just going to bottleneck the whole system, and it's going to have cascading effect and whatnot. So making things async, so that the things that you want to actually do can not be dependent on a waiting client is essential, right? You have to make things async all the things, but that's complex, right? And if you say this to any lay developer, or anybody who's not lay developer, anybody who's a traditional developer and who's dealt with a lot of async things, they're gonna say, no, thank you. This is too complex. I'll just stick with my monolith. I'll just do synchronous things, and I'll be happy. But then you're not going to solve the problem that we just mentioned. So this brings us to the main agenda of this talk, which is three-factor app and the design pattern which enables developers to incorporate serverless uh, in a very nice way, in a very accessible way, because it's very easy for anybody, be it a full stack developer, be it a Node.js developer, even somebody who's not very accustomed to writing any backend logic, and they are more familiar with like on the front end side of things. Even they can build simple apps very easily in serverless with a three-factor app. So let's see what it is. So as the name suggests, there are three components to three-factor app. The first component is real-time GraphQL, and we'll get to the reasoning behind this in the subsequent slides. So bear with me till I just define what the three-factor app is. So the first component is real-time GraphQL, and this we'll use for interacting with state, like interacting maybe with the database, or maybe you have some other storage, data store, or so on. You need to manipulate state, and that is what an app does. If it's not a trivial static site, it's going to manipulate state. And you also need real-time GraphQL for subscriptions, and we'll get to why that is needed also in a bit. But as the name suggests, subscriptions basically means that you're subscribed to events, you can say, or you're subscribed to something, and whenever that thing changes, like if maybe you're subscribed to top 10 articles currently in your system, right? And yeah, so whenever the top 10 articles change because a new article was inserted and became very popular, you should know that this has changed, and you should be able to show that in the application. The second thing is reliable eventing, and this is to initiate business logic. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, you need to go async, which means that you need a way to spawn these async activities, right? These async functions, and we will use events to do that. So you need a reliable eventing system. And thirdly, you need async serverless. This is because if you have event driven applications, we'll see that how enormously awesome it is to like host them in a serverless runtime, and then you can just not worry about any kind of scaling problems. For one, you need not worry about any kind of transient errors because you can always retry and so on. So async serverless, or just serverless, because we're going to do async, is going to be enormously great fit in getting all these things together, right? So if we look at the three-factor architecture again from a more uh, pictorial point of view, you can see how this has changed from our previous architecture, where the API layer was actually coordinating everything, and it was doing business logic, managing state from the application, and so on. And now it's more like a dumb layer which kind of talks to your database or your state store, uh, and there is this event system which is kind of vague at this point, like where did this come from. But let's just assume that there is an event system which can talk to the database and so on. And this event system is basically delivering events to your async microservices, or whatever functionalities that you have deployed. Like you might have deployed it in serverless itself, or it could be somewhere else. So this event system is basically driving these business logic, right? And the business logic code can obviously change state again, and that change state is also visible to the app through the API layer. So this is what the three-factor architecture is at a high level, and we'll see what are the main tenets of this, and why building with this solves all the problems as before that we mentioned before, and why it is so easy to adopt this, uh, especially for greenfield projects. It's one of the most obvious ways of using serverless, as well as one of the best ways to build an application in modern times. So the main tenets of three-factor architecture: there's a very simple API layer, and everything is derived from this persisted state, like the database. So the app contacts the API layer. The API layer does something to the state, to the database, maybe inserts a record or updates a record, something like this. And this would drive an eventing system. For example, if an insert happened, maybe you would then also generate an event saying, hey, an insert happened, and that is pushed to an eventing queue or an eventing mechanism, right? And these events basically are meant for functional units of business logic to work on, right? So if there is, for example, if you have to like kind of if a new user was registered, you have their email ID, you want an email service to send them a welcome email. So that functional unit, like sending a welcome email, is what constitutes your business logic, and that comes via the event, which was again generated by the insert of the new user, right? Finally, functions will be deployed on serverless, so that we don't have to worry about infra too much. We don't have to worry about scale. We don't have to worry about transient failures and so on. So these are the main tenets of three-factor architecture. So let's quickly go through what serverless development experience looks like. So if we have a simple Node.js code here, which basically exports a function which takes request and response as parameters, and it basically responds with a message called hello, right? As simple as this. This is a very simple code. Anybody could write this code, but deploying this can be hard. But imagine you having a tool like this, which by just calling deploy on this on this file with a name and some kind of a trigger like HTTP, it gives you the endpoint automatically deployed. And if you hit this endpoint, you would see hello world. It's as simple as that, right? So this is why serverless itself is like accessible for people to quickly deploy code, but to build full complicated applications is where you need models like 3-factor to help guide you into how you can bring all these things together. So was this hard? No. But what you get for free behind the scenes is that you basically did no ops. There's no infrastructure to manage. You don't have to worry about scaling. You just write a little bit of code, deploy it, and you don't even have to worry about the pricing because the pricing is per invocation. So if you're using it very little, then you get a bill which is also very small. If you're using it a lot, it's appropriately priced. So you know the basic economics of what is the bill that you're going to get, right? So this is the scalability aspects of 3-factors architectures. And this solves the first problem in a traditional architecture. If you remember, having a monolith is costly, it's resourceful, and it requires a lot of management. The second bit, which is incredibly complex in monolithic architectures, traditional architectures as before, is the making sure your business logic or your workflows are resilient, right? And what we have done here to achieve resilience is that we are driving everything through events, right? And these events are persisted, so you can easily see what is the history of your application or the evolution of its state. Like if there is a problem, you can always see, oh, I have these event IDs. Maybe they also have a trace ID kind of indicator, so that if multiple events were generated, you can like uh, group them together and see the lineage. So these kind of things become possible with event driven workflows, especially if you're persisting the event, right? So that's one aspect of uh, resilience. And if something goes wrong, if some event is stuck, it's not gone to the consumer, or it has gone to the consumer but the consumer has somehow dropped it or not executed on it, you can always retry it, right? You know what the event is, you can always go and retry it. Of course, it also matters how you write the event handler or the serverless function where this event is going to, and it should ideally be idempotent. And there are a few best practices for 3-factor, which you can check out in the website 3factor.app, uh, which basically give you guidelines as to how in real world situations also these properties will hold, these resilience and scalability properties will hold for a 3-factor app. So let's look at a short example with just these with the concepts of 3-factor that we've touched so far. So if we have a state which looks like this, right? It's maybe a table. It has a row which has an ID, and it has some Boolean flags, which kind of defines the state, the step in the workflow that you want to execute. So maybe for a food ordering application, you want to validate the request. You want to see if it's paid for, if it's approved at the restaurant end, and if a delivery agent is assigned to this order. So maybe you have a small state to handle like this. And what you would do with traditional architecture with synchronous logic, you would probably be, when you make this request, you will first create that kind of a record with everything being false. You will probably auto generate these things. And then you will talk to the payment service, get the response, talk to the restaurant service, get the approval, talk to probably the delivery microservice, and get a delivery person assigned. Or you might be not having microservices as granular as this, and you might be doing much of the business logic in this layer itself. So, and what have we done with 3-factor? It's like, suppose our database also generates events which are sent to an event system. It could be something driven off the database itself, or it could be something like Kafka or RabbitMQ or something like that. So suppose we have generated the first event being an order inserted, right? And that's going to be consumed by payment processing function only. And that payment processing function goes and modifies the state to say the payment is done, and then which in turn generates a new event which goes to restaurant approval, and so on and so forth, right? So the architecture kind of is driven from the state, and the event system is coordinating everything. So if we look at the workflow real quick, so a new order has come, the state is false for all these fields, but uh, the event system knows that when a new order is placed, it needs to send it to a valid order function, which could be in a lambda as shown here. And then this lambda says, oh, it's valid, and it checks for, it basically drives the whole workflow, right? So in AWS, there are step functions which can help you do this, but all of this fall under the same design pattern. Right. So there you go. So this kind of a, so if you think about it, all you had to do from an app point of view is you had to insert this record, and you, after that there is absolutely nothing that the front end has to really do except what except show the actual state of these things happening in real time. So this is what we didn't cover in the previous slide, which is like when stuff happens asynchronously, how do you actually manage uh, uh, how do you manage your application which your client is using? How do you show what the status is? And this is where real-time GraphQL it becomes crucial for three-factor app, because you can subscribe to changes as they're having on your state store on your database. So Hasura provides a GraphQL API uh, which will give you the entire state auto-generated, which will give you APIs to subscribe to in real time, auto-generated completely. So this is how the whole workflow gets completed, which is that you make simple state changes, also called mutations in GraphQL, like inserting a record or updating a record, which drives a whole event-driven asynchronous workflow, which in turn changes the state again, and then you are subscribed to the state of the table, or you could be subscribed to any kind of an event, and then you can display that in your application. So GraphQL and serverless work really well because because real time, as we see here, is very crucial in building great apps and in showing what is your application actually doing in any point of time, right? So with this, I will quickly show a quick demo of what we just saw. And so here I have the same application. Let me call this hello serverless practitioners. And I can kind of place a new order. Let's say, let me get donut and dosa. And that's it. All I did here from the front end was create an insert record action, and that initiated my my workflow. And one of the steps is to make the payment here. So I'm going to make a payment, and then that drives the rest of the workflow. Like I can do a restaurant approval, and then driver assignment, right? And yeah, so I can see I have basically built a very good order management uh, application with very little prerequisites, which already have all the attributes of scalability and resilience. And if I had to add a new function, like for example, I want to do something new here, or maybe send the order to some machine learning service, it's very easy to add this, because all our app is actually doing is composing all these serverless functions and then hooking them to kind of events that are happening from your client. So 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 looking so this is what basically makes this whole model and three-factor app uh, very accessible, and as a very good mechanism to like start building native serverless apps today. So coming back here, so before we get here, I'll just take a brief moment to describe how this is this actually works out in practice, right? In practice, if you are subscribed to State and uh, and it's a complex workflow or it's a complex application, then it's possible that something might be stuck or something might be not working as expected and so on. But all the controls for that is very easily managed at the front end. For example, if you don't get a event, or if you don't find something has moved from one state to another in like a minute, right, then you can poll for something or drive some kind of an error recovery workflow right from the front end. So it also puts a lot of power in the hands of the front end application, the front end component of the application, because from a backend point of view, all you expect from the backend is give the state. Like it doesn't care about what all steps you are basically following and so on. The front end application just has a contract of, hey, this is my state change that I'm going to do, and I'm going to subscribe to this state. Hopefully as soon as this thing as delivery flag is set to true, as soon as I receive that update, I'm going to like show some other screen and so on. So the mental model uh, gives power to both front end engineers who are depending on the real time subscriptions and depending on these asynchronous activities to happen. And it's also making the life of backend engineers very simple, because now they don't have to worry about what the front end really consumes or what is the entire sequence of steps that is required in the front end, because uh, uh, because they're just dealing with events now, right? So it's like small functions are being composed together and they are being orchestrated through an event system, and they don't really have to worry about building like work synchronous and dependent workflows because the front end needs them. So so in practice it's a really it puts more power in the hands of both sides of what brings a full stack application together. So to summarize, three factor is a design pattern for serverless. It's very simple and easy to think in. Hopefully that the talk today gave you some uh, model of understanding what event driven is and how you can get started right from the front end. And if you're doing a greenfield app, try it. It's I think one of the best patterns. There are few, and this I think is a great pattern for like full stack application development. So that brings me to the final slide. So if you want to try this, do check out our open source project, GraphQL engine in github.com/hasura/GraphQL engine. You can get started uh, today, and you can also build applications that I mentioned with all the features, including the GraphQL API, eventing system, and also like delivering it to serverless functions very easily with Hasura. And thank you.